Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Douglas School Committee meeting, Wednesday, November 17th. We are starting right at 7 o'clock p.m. That's our call to order, so if we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I will just be reading our mission statement first, as we're doing at every meeting. The Douglas Public Schools offer diverse learning experiences that meet the academic, social, physical, and emotional needs of all students. We provide a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment in which students may achieve academic success and personal growth. Decisions are made in the best interest of students. We will move on to our student representatives. We have two here tonight. So if Adriana Acosta and Lisa Lane come on up.
Hi, my name is Addie.
And my name is Lisa.
And we are part of the 2021 to 2022 Student Council. The 6th grade in Douglas Middle School has been working hard in their academics and education in November. Right now in science class, the 6th grade has been working on moon phases and how to identify them. In writing, students just completed their summer reading projects where they choose a book to read and then wrote about different aspects of the character and drew a picture of them. In math, kids are learning about the substitution method. During world history, the students are learning about the Paleolithic and Neolithic ages. The 6th grade reading classes have rotated the groups because of the second quarter and are currently reading and working on their new book.
The 7th grade students have been working very hard in their classes in the new quarter. In math class, they have been working on multi-step equations. They recently had tests on expressions as well. In history, the students have been learning all about the early settlements of China. And in ELA, they have been working on a response and a literature graphic organizer. They are also reading a fictional book called Restart. During science class, rocks are being studied on how they have formed and just the aspect of them and what they are made of.
The 8th grade is doing very well in their classes this quarter. In science, students just took a quiz on the composition and structure of Earth's oceans and are now learning about tides. In English classes, students are learning more about perspectives and have just completed a fun activity called a Socratic Circle after reading a story called The Necklace. In algebra, the Pythagorean theorem is being taught. In civics class just wrapped up learning about the foundations of our government and how our founding fathers were influenced by ancient governments. In Spanish class, everybody has been learning about the Day of the Dead, and each class has made papel picado or cut tissue paper decorations to hang around the school.
The whole Douglas Middle School community has shown their respect for breast cancer awareness by wearing pink in late October. Also, just last week, we shared our respects for Veterans Day by reading a letter from an old veteran during World War I. And then we held a moment of silence. Students also have the opportunity to make cards for veterans. And the student council and Mrs. Hayes honored the veterans they knew by sharing the cards with them.
Our school activities are doing fantastic so far. We have just elected 8th grade officers, which we are very excited about and are looking forward to see what they come up with for the 8th grade end of the year activities. Yearbook has been doing great as well. The students are making sure to get the best photos to show what Douglas School Spirit is all about, and the community is thrilled to see what designs the yearbook will come out with. The Student Council has been doing well, and we've been planning events for an exciting school year, and we can't wait to see them in action. This week, they are holding a food drive to help families in need during the holidays. The chorus and band is working very hard, and the chorus is planning on having a performance during the holiday season and has been putting effort into practicing. Mock trial has started hearing cases and arguing about them. The elective debate class read The Monkey's Paw, and then split into a cross-section and defense teams to argue the conflict, and a jury, which consists of DMS staff, decides which sides provide their case.
The DMS soccer, cross country, and golf ended with their very proud in athletics who represented the middle school. They played very well. Baseball is starting up soon for any boys and girls who would like to play. The cheerleading tryouts are also coming soon. The new team will be formed after Thanksgiving break and ready to cheer on their school.
Besides events run by the students, the staff at DMS invited the machine Jesse Green to come to our school. He gave the students an inspiring speech about not giving up and how he lived up to his dreams. Jesse's speech was incredible and definitely had a positive impact on the Douglas Middle School. Thank you for your time and have a nice night.
Thank you,
Can I
guys.
just say one thing? You look like a famous movie star. I don't know if you guys have thought about it, but like a famous singer from like years ago, and it helped us think it share. You guys are beautiful. But I'm just
she's
saying. It
loving
just
her
I
own
kept
hair.
thinking a famous musician when you were talking the whole time. I couldn't get it out of my head. But thank you guys. What
Thank
grade
you
are you
guys
guys
for-
in anyway?
I'm in 7th grade and she's in 8th.
Oh, okay. In unison.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a good night.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
All right. Moving on to public comment and communication. The school committee welcomes public comment on items that are within the scope of the school committee's responsibilities. The public comment agenda item is reserved for this purpose. Looking around, I see no one for public comment, so we'll move on to old business. Any old business? Any new business? Dr. Vieira, superintendent's report.
I am very pleased to announce that on November 29th from 3 to 6, we'll be holding another vaccination clinic here in the Douglas Public Schools. We're probably going to hold it at the elementary school. Now that we have students between the ages of 5 and 11 have the opportunity to be vaccinated, we want to provide that opportunity and that resource to the community. So a huge thank you to the Board of Health for helping us organize it. She's sending me a link for parents to sign up tomorrow or Friday. It's going to be Monday, the 29th, again, from 3 to 6. We'll get that link out to people. It'll be open to all students in all ages. If we fill up our slots, if we don't fill up our slots, we'll open it up also to adults. But we want to fill it up first with students, and we hope to get a high turnout. They'll come in now on the 29th, and they'll come back again in 3 weeks for a second shot for people. So I know that you can go to CVS, you can go to Walgreens, there are other places for it, but we're going to do this one here as a resource, hopefully a little bit easier for parents to do it. I know Mr. Romano did one during the school day. We decided to do this one from 3 to 6. We want moms and dads and caregivers to be able to come with their 7, 8, and 9-year-olds to get that vaccine, as opposed to just having them come down on their own. So really excited about that, and thank you to the Board of Health for helping set that up. Just again, want to remind people about the importance of following our safety protocols. If you're symptomatic, if you're living with someone symptomatic, please, please, please stay home. We've had a couple examples in the past week where kids were symptomatic, came to school, we didn't know they were symptomatic. 2 days later, we find out that they tested positive, and we have to go back and contact trace. So please, 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 if you're symptomatic, stay at home. If you're living with someone who's symptomatic, please stay at home. And then again, a huge shout out to our nurses for the test and stay program and the pool testing that we do. It's been very, very, very helpful, both of those programs that we have. Our nurses have been helping out, our principals have been helping out. I know Mr. Romano does a lot of the test and stay, the contact tracing, and the pool testing. So just thank you for having those safety protocols in place and being able to keep our students and our staff safe in schools. Any questions about COVID?
I hate to ask questions about COVID, but I'm gonna. There's a man.
You can't start off by saying I hate that.
I just wish it would go away. There was a mailing that went out, and I was really confused. It sounded like if you have COVID, you can go to school. Is that how I read it?
No. So if you have COVID, you have to stay at home. If you're identified as if you're a close contact, if you're not vaccinated, you can participate in the test and stay program. But if you have COVID, you have to stay at home.
Okay.
Can parents still sign, I assume they can, still sign their children up for test and stay or pool testing? Like
Parents
that's
at
ongoing.
any time can contact a principal or nurse and say, I want to enroll in the test and stay. We'll send you the link to the CIC website, and you can go through and fill out the information.
And if they are fully vaccinated, is it not fruitful for them to be in those programs at that point? Or the district would
So
still.
if you're fully vaccinated, you're not identified as a close contact?
Yep.
So you wouldn't participate in the test and stay?
Okay.
And they're saying right now, because of the shortage of tests,
Yep.
they're saying that if you're fully vaccinated, they're strongly encouraging schools not to have people participate in test and
pool
stay
testing.
in pooled,
Okay.
in pool testing as a general rule. We've had a couple instances where we have allowed it,
Yeah.
but the general rule is, in order to make sure we have the resources for the people
Right.
who aren't vaccinated, those who are wouldn't participate in test and stay or the pool testing.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where my question came from. So basically, you can have COVID and be in school,
No.
because you're not going to be doing the test and stay, you're just going to go to school.
If you're identified as a close contact, if Ms. Brown is positive, and the three of you have been identified as close contacts, and you're not vaccinated, you will participate in the test and stay. If you're symptomatic, you stay at home. But if you're asymptomatic, you come to school, and every day for, what is it, Mr. Romano, I believe 7 days?
7 days total, yeah.
7 days, you will participate in the test and stay program. But if you're symptomatic or you have COVID,
Okay.
you should be, well, if you have COVID, you should be staying, you're home. But if you're symptomatic, you should be staying home,
Whether you're
Excellent.
vaccinated or not.
whether you're vaccinated or not, correct?
Okay.
And the test and stay is only for contacts in school, if you've had the exposure in the school?
Correct. The test and stay is only for in-school contacts, not for out-of-school contacts.
And that's also due to the limited test numbers, is that?
It's due to the limited test numbers. It's also, if you've been identified as a close contact in school, we kind of know where it happened, when it happened, and we were able to contain it. If it happened outside of school, we don't know what your exposure was.
Can I ask one other question? You don't have to, you can say, no, I can't answer this. Have there been any kids this year that have been really, like, sick, vaccinated or not?
I don't know the answer to
COVID?
that. The level of illness of students.
I know it's more than one, but I don't know. You know, there have been, like, sick, like, with a cold.
No, like really sick, like hospitalized
No.
sick.
It's not mentioned.
No.
Just curious. That's it.
Anything else? Going on to the Wellness Committee. Last year, we started a Wellness Committee. Mrs. Grady was a part of it, and we're getting ready to get our Wellness Committee back up and running. The goals for this year for the Wellness Committee are 5 goals. It's one, to look at some school committee policy, our policy around wellness, and our policy around life-threatening allergies, making sure it's current, making sure it's up to date, making sure it's relevant. The other parts of the Wellness Committee will be to look at health and education services, school nutrition, physical education, and social emotional well-being of all. So this is something that by DESE standards and by actually MGL, we have to meet 4 times a year, and each school is required to have these wellness committees that meet. So we have 4 dates set up: December 13th, February 7th, April 11th, and June 6th. We're going to meet at 4 o'clock in the afternoon via Zoom. And we have the school nurse is a part of it. The health and wellness coordinator, which is Ms. Sokol, will be a part of it. Our food service director will be a part of it. I sent something out in my weekly newsletter. I think I had 5 parents respond, which I was thrilled that I got 5 parents to respond. I reached out to the Board of Health. They're going to be a part of it. I'd love to have a member of the school committee if someone's interested in being a part of that.
Do you need a policy member on it? I mean, does it overlap with?
So what we would do for the
Policy.
policies, we would look at the policy, and then we would take it to the policy subcommittee, for then us in policy subcommittee to look at it and refine it, and make edits, and then have that back and forth exchange that happens.
I think I can do it if no one else is interested. If that's not like if that's not a conflict for
it's
me to
fine.
be on both.
Okay. I'll send you an invite.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And next on the agenda, we have Mr. Romano for a double dip, where he's going to talk about his school improvement plan, highlighting last year and talking about this school year, and then spending a little bit of time talking about the professional development plan that he's put in place around diversity, equity, and inclusivity.
Sorry, did you already find out what happened tonight?
Boys?
Yeah.
I did. That was actually the very first thing I was going to announce, if that's
Go ahead.
all
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to take your thunder.
So we have to take down the Final Four banner that the boys won
for making the semifinals for soccer because they won today, 3-0. The fan bus is on its way back right now, so they will be playing Saturday at, we don't know the time yet, but in Leominster, which is kind of nice, it's in my neighborhood. And they'll be playing against Bromfield, which is the high school in Harvard. So great job by those guys.
And that will be the finals?
That's it, that's state champs.
Wow,
So-
congratulations.
We're making up for last year, because last year they would have been there too.
Yep, last year they should have been there too, and, with the COVID, no tournaments. So we had all the teams had a great season this year between, from track or cross-country, volleyball, girls soccer, boys soccer, everybody went off to the tournaments, so.
And went deep.
And went deep. Field hockey as well in our co-op, so. And football's still going on, so don't count them out yet. But, so first, which one am I doing first? School improvement?
School improvement plan. School improvement plan?
Okay, so school improvement plan. So first, to kind of look over last year, the goals from last year, and I'll give us ratings on them. So our student learning goal was basically to make up for that lost instruction from the shutdown and complete the expected curriculum in our major courses. So the goals that we kind of set there were for 98% of students to pass all classes. We didn't make that when we were at 92%. We were 95% the year before. 28 students failed at least one class. And for special education students, I set the goal of 94%. We were at 86. That's 5 out of 35 students on IEPs failed a class, not including like the STARS program. We also said we would adjust curriculum to include content and skills not covered the year before. We did pretty well with that. Prepare students for the MCAS tests. Our math scores declined, but our ELA scores improved. In fact, they improved significantly over the state average. The state improved, we improved even more than the state. So mixed success there. And about the same, a slight drop on our AP exam scores, which is to say the AP courses that are more content heavy, like US history, we didn't do as well on as the ones that are more skill-based, like language and composition. We did pretty well on. Professional practice goal was to create new opportunities. I think we did really well with that. A whole bunch of new courses, new clubs. We made some changes to the graduation requirements to help freshmen be able to take electives. The one thing that we weren't as successful at was expanding the early college program. I can't sell the early college program, taking college courses at ConSig for anything. I think it's because they're online and the kids are kind of onlined out right now. So we're going to keep pushing for that one. And then essentially our school improvement goals were to prepare and implement a plan to reopen schools, prepare for future school closures. I think we managed those pretty well. And develop a comprehensive plan for social emotional learning and support. I was kind of measuring that one by our attendance rate. So our attendance rate for all students did drop a little bit. If you correct it for if you take out COVID absences, we were at 92%. Normally, we're actually on the high side. The year before that, we were about 95% of students present per day on average, which is actually pretty high. We dropped down to 92% last year. Not great, but within, I think, it's still higher than what the state average is for attendance. So for this year, what we're going to work on, increase student achievement by building teacher capacity for effective instruction and expanding new opportunities for students. So what that is basically using our data to to determine the gaps in students' education, what they missed, what they need to get caught up on, from the hybrid, from remote instruction, from whatever learning model that they were in. And then provide them with those interventions that they need, whether it's the intervention block that we're running during the day, the after-school tutoring that we're doing, NHS tutoring, whatever it happens to be, or teachers going back and reteaching, doing a cycle of reteaching to make sure that kids have the prerequisite skills for the new content. And then continue to identify at-risk students for the academic or social emotional interventions that they need, and then professional development in selected areas. So things like, I'm going to introduce Universal Design for Learning, which is an instructional model that really focuses on giving students options for presenting how they've learned, and also presenting material to students in multiple ways to kind of, there's not just one way to teach a student. So we'll do some PD in areas like that. The professional practice goal for this year is, again, new opportunities. I have new pathways that I want to roll out. Ms. Doherty wants to introduce childcare and culinary, which I think those are nice to kind of show kids that there's options here. They don't need to go to BVT for those types of things. And art as well. Amy Stand, I think she's going to have like 200 students by the end of this school year between all of her electives that she has. So arts have just exploded here, and I think we're going to look at a pathway for students who are interested in pursuing art in their further education. We're going to keep working on early college. We did start Project Lead the Way this year with the engineering program and the Blackstone Valley Co-op courses. We have some kids who are taking cybersecurity right now. They also have, I'm really pushing for them to bring back the welding course. I think that's a great opportunity, but we're going to continue to push kids to, these are programs that are done, it's a co-op basically among other regional high schools to offer courses that we're all maybe too small to offer ourselves. But if you get 2 kids from Douglas to do cybersecurity, 2 kids from Sutton, 1 kid from Nipmuc, you can get enough kids together to form a course. So.
How does that work? Do they travel somewhere? Or
It's
is it
mostly
personal?
online, and then they do travel, especially for the more hands-on ones, like the welding one. They go to it's either one of the area schools or the education hub that is in
Whitensville, I think?
Whitensville, yes. And that's a beautiful
It's by you.
facility.
Yep, my place.
Yeah. It's a beautiful facility, so they either go there or they go to one of the regional schools, so. And then to conduct an equity review, which is a little bit different from the review that I'm going to talk about. This actually relates back to our NEASC accreditation from a few years ago. Girls outnumber boys in our honors and AP classes, 3 to 1, 2 to 1, depends on the grade. And so we're going to work on trying to get our young male students to take more academically challenging courses. The school improvement goal is the well-being of all, and that's kind of creating that safe environment for everybody. And that's providing varied services in response to social emotional needs of students, which is the tiered supports that we do for students for their mental health, their emotional well-being, whether it's Lindsay Ryan teaching a small group that needs help with coping skills, or Jess Hurley doing individual counseling, the outside counseling that we bring in with family continuity, any of those things, the advisory program that all students do. We're going to promote equity and inclusiveness for all students. That's the other thing that I'm going to present to you today. I'm going way over my 4 minutes, Dr. Beer, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And then our social emotional learning instruction that we do. A lot of that comes in advisory, but I'm trying to integrate it more into classrooms. So how we teach kids to collaborate, how we teach them to plan and organize, those types of things, those executive functioning skills that kids need. And then the community partnerships that we're trying to build, whether it's the community within the school, we've got all kinds of things that we're planning to do, have our students go down and show off what we do to the middle school, or things that we do involving the community, whether it's things like the vaccination clinics and things like that. And then looking at why students leave the district and what we can do to get them to stay. That is the plan for this year. Any questions on that piece of it?
I think it's good that you are trying to push some of those things, because that is a big driver as to why BBT gets people. And I mean, I'm just going to speak from personal experience right now, because I had a student graduate, obviously, as you know, from Douglas High School, and he wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, he had an opportunity to go to BBT, but for him, this worked out great. And there was actually a class here that he took, which was TV production, which I'm looking at the receipt on for. And wow, it was like what it did for him here from Douglas, like it set him on a path that he is like so excited to be on right now. Whereas my son, who's at BBT, he's in a welding class right now, and it drives him to go to school. Like he has been so excited to go to school this past week.
Yep.
You give him English, and it's like, why am I dissecting a book? How is that going to get me anywhere in life? And I think for boys, like sometimes they look at things maybe different than some girls might, whereas my daughter's like, I got to get high honors or highest honors, whereas my boy's like,
Name pushes herself, yeah.
I got welding and stuff like that. And I mean, girls can obviously do welding too, but, that's something that I think they just sometimes think differently than each other.
BVT is, I can't teach a kid to be a welder. I can't teach a kid to be a plumber. Like those are the kids that I do think should go to BVT. But if a student wants to be a police officer, I have criminal justice, I have forensics. If they want to be like you said, if they want to do something with TV design, I have TV production 1 and 2. You know, I have things that they can do here. So it's really highlighting those pretty cool opportunities that we have for kids. They don't have to go there for something unique. They can come here for something that's pretty cool too.
But they can also get it, like you said, by going to, something over in Whitensville and getting
Yep.
that experience and still staying here
Yep.
and getting their basic core
If I can get
education.
welding and auto repair through the Blackstone Valley Co-op, that's what I would really push for.
And I love every time we talk to you, there's always something else that you're thinking about.
Yeah,
Down the
that's,
pike,
You
there's always
have to.
something new, which
I don't do a
love
lot of
that.
things well, but I do ideas really well. So, and then I
We need
I
that.
have really good people who then take the idea and they make it work. So,
It's awesome.
there, wouldn't you like to teach forensics? Yes.
Really talking about the pathways now. Like my daughter's like so excited about this pathway.
It is great. Yeah, I was really glad that kids have gotten excited about it because it means that they're taking challenging classes. It means that they're going to do something meaningful with their senior project. It's driving up our club memberships because, one of the ways that you can meet that pathway is by being part of the robotics club or being part of the science club. So it's another way to just sort of build up that experience that kids have in school. Kind of force them to do something cool. And plus, the ideas things, those are the best conversations that Dr. Vera and I have. It's when we're not talking about
Masks. like
budget,
COVID.
or we're not talking about masks, we're talking about like cool things that we can do. Those are the best conversations, so.
Is there a lot of buzz about this amongst the school population as they're, just interacting with each other?
I think some, they're kids, but I have kids that want to get into art classes. I have kids that want to get into foods. I have kids that want to get into criminal robotics. There is a big buzz about robotics, and so it does help with that as much as you can get out of teenagers, because it's always about finding the one thing that a student might not, for some reason they might not like history, but they like robotics, or they like welding but they don't like English. It's about finding that thing. They like soccer, and that gets them through math class, whatever it happens to be. So I think that that's what it really helps with, is that the student has, even if it's just that one class that they're really excited to go to. So I think it really helps with that.
Not only that, but you mentioned art too. Sorry not to take up all your time, but my son at a different school never was real. I'm not gonna take an art class. Oh my God, he loves it so much. But you know what? It's also the teachers too that make the class too.
Yeah.
So that teacher may have a very good rapport with the kids too, and that may be also a helpful thing. And then you get kids that normally wouldn't take art, and they're like, wow, this is actually really great. They wouldn't know unless they tried.
Right, and we're giving them opportunities to try, and Amy does some fantastic things, so it's fun. All right, you actually didn't take up my time, I took up Dr. Beer's time. I took up your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
am I staying for equity?
It's your plan, yeah.
So, after the GSA students came in and they spoke to what their experience is here at the school, and it really kind of helped to, I think, raise some awareness for everybody in the school, for every teacher, every para, for Dr. Vieira, for me, for Desi, of what we can do or where our shortcomings are and what we should do to try to make things better. Because, I think a lot of times when you have a school where there's not a lot of discipline issues and there's not a lot of kids failing classes, and you sort of forget that there's other aspects of it too, and what the experience is for, that maybe it's not sunny and rosy for every single kid. So to kind of address some of the specific things that the kids brought up, Dr. Bier and I and Emily Dower and the kids in GSA had input in it too. We came up with some ideas for things that we can do to try to make the experience better for students and to make ourselves better at what we're doing as well as professionals. So I have contacted a teacher in Chelmsford, Mass., Dr. Christina Whittlesley. She does work with teachers, very practical. You can apply this tomorrow in your classroom stuff for teachers related to supporting LGBTQIA students. So she's going to come in January to work with how we can identify and remove implicit bias from the curriculum. Those things that kind of can make a student feel excluded from what you're doing by accident. You're not deliberately doing it, but just to make sure that they feel themselves represented in the curriculum. So they'll have time where she's going to do some teaching, and then there'll be some time for teachers to collaborate on things that they can do to reflect more inclusion in their curriculum and to remove those things that demonstrate bias. So she's going to come in January, and then we're looking at doing a book study. The book that I thought was the best one was one Dr. Vieira found, Respect is Only Human. So what I'd like to do is a book study on that where maybe if we can come up with the money, we'll buy copies of the book for teachers, and it's a book study, so they'll read it on their own. They'll come together, read 2 chapters, come together to discuss it with some questions, and they can get professional development points for that. I'm doing one right now on educating students of color. They can be pretty rewarding if the book's good. The one I'm in, the book isn't good, but this book seems pretty good, so.
It's an easy, have you flipped through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you got it on your Kindle. I read the book a month ago. It's an easy, light read. Sort of light read, but it's an easy read that has a lot of just good practical aha moments that can cause a lot of great dialogue with kids, adults, and community members. So
I think it's a really good kind of introductory text for the idea of equity, because it addresses all forms of equity. It's not specifically LGBTQIA, but it does include that, but it also includes racial diversity and economic diversity and socioeconomic diversity, everything. It's kind of very applicable to a lot of populations. So on the student side, I shared a Google form with students where they could put down if they have a preferred name, a name that they want to go by as opposed to their dead name, and pronouns that they want to use. So go ahead and identify that. And typically, teachers can get, if you have a student in class, it's pretty easy to get that name that they use now or the pronouns that they use now. But if you're their club advisor, you might not. If you're their coach, you might not. And so we created this spreadsheet for students to put this so that we could get this out to everybody who works with our students. And we did actually find out we had another student here that we didn't know was preferred to use a different name, at least with adults, and different pronouns. So we did that, and I think that went pretty well. We're going to hold an advisory to reiterate what behaviors constitute harassment and bullying, and this is sort of the notice to all students of what constitutes harassment, including third-party harassment, which is when, if I'm talking to Scott there and I use a derogatory term, he's not offended by it, but somebody who overhears it is, that's third-party harassment. And even though there's no intent behind it, it's still considered harassment. So it's just making them aware of that, and then how to report bullying, even if you're just the bystander. So how to be an active, benevolent bystander as well. The middle school is looking to start a chapter of GSA as well, and my high school student GSA, they said that they're willing to help them get that launched once there's an advisor in place, and I don't know where they are as far as that process goes. I'm not even sure that they've started the process, but once they do, my kids seem to be pretty enthusiastic about helping them to set that up. We have some lessons that students are going to teach to each other. In fact, one's coming up after Thanksgiving on respectful climate. We had a guest speaker who came in, J.C. Pohl, did a great job talking about understanding the experience of other people and accepting other people for who they are. And he has a curriculum that peer leaders are going to teach to classes. So 2 students will go into advisories and work on these lessons on building empathy. And GSA is going to do some work with the rising freshmen about the club, about promoting what they do, to include it in the step-up day, just to make it so that the GSA is seen as more than just this isolated club, but that it's something that anybody can join, anybody can be a part of, and to kind of promote membership in it. And the membership's pretty strong right now. I think there were about 30 kids the day that we went there.
Yeah.
That's 10% of the school in the club, so that's pretty good. We also were looking at some family activities. I was going to send out a thing to families, just kind of explaining the use of pronouns. And we're looking also to maybe do an evening with families of LGBTQIA students and school leaders, and really any parent who wants to be involved, and it's a courageous conversations model of putting people into groups, having some discussion questions, and kind of trying to see the perspectives of others and understand how we can support these types of things. And, I've told the GSA kids, my daughter's gay, and, that is the area where I feel like I can kind of speak to the direct experience of it, I can talk to a parent about what you can do right and wrong with that experience. And so I would be very open to doing that. And then finally, we did a review of the handbook last year to look at removing gendered pronouns from it. And we also revised our dress code because times are changing and fashions change. So we removed it to make it less gender biased against female students. But I think there's more things that we need to do, ensure that the harassment policy is clear, that it specifically states, what groups are protected, explain third-party harassment. There are some other things that we can do in the handbook process too. So when we go through our regular handbook process, I'll get a smaller group to do a deeper dive than just when the whole faculty looks at it. I'll get a group together to do a deep dive into the inclusiveness of the handbook.
Can I ask a weird question?
Of course.
Do you feel like that, I don't really think about how to ask this the right way, I guess. Like, do you feel that there's going to be like a common trend then where people that might say, well, like just the gender itself, like if you identify yourself as a girl and like and I am who I am, whatever, that it might be like, well, how dare you, like it kind of like going back, almost like I'm thinking like affirmative action, I guess, kind of thing, where like.
Yeah, sort of the response. So I think what you're talking about is like, it's what J.K. Rowling's kind of in trouble for of, I'm the idea, Caitlyn Jenner was like Woman of the Year, and she wasn't born a woman, and so J.K. Rowling's like, well, you're kind of stealing my identity, was kind of that response. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so kind of like, I like how he was, you were talking about a book about how we're just, we're all human, like, I mean, just respecting people just for like who they are, just because you don't agree with something or I don't agree with something, just like me because I'm human.
Yeah, I think
I like
that
the
is
concept, actually.
That is sort of that's the ultimate goal of something like advisory, is to just create that idea of that acceptance of everybody, because it might be political beliefs.
Yeah.
And
Stop shaming people because they think one way and then you think
Right.
another way, like, and that's the world we live in right now. So I
Yeah.
mean,
But it can cover
it's
all
hard
kinds
to-
of body shaming can be covered in there too, just anything of that type of thing, yeah. I did forget one GSA activity that they are doing right now, that is their Turkey Teacher Fundraiser, where 5 brave teachers volunteered to participate, and students buy feathers that go on a turkey in front of their door, and the teacher who, I was going to say the winner, I'm not really sure if that's the right word, the teacher who gets the most feathers has to wear a turkey costume the day before Thanksgiving. Right now, Mr. Tossi is winning by a landslide. Mr. Morris is actively campaigning to win, but I believe it's Ms. Raposa is in second place right now.
That
so.
seems like reverse psychology there.
Maybe it is, but I'm not sure. I did offer to, Mr. McGrath and I both offered to participate, but the costume would not remotely fit us, so.
No body shaming there, of course.
No body shaming, but I was told, we'll buy a new costume, put you guys in the costume. They not want to volunteer for next year, but I think Mr. Tossi's got it.
Is the courageous conversation something that you would put out just to high school families when it comes around, or is that something that?
I hadn't really thought about it, but I think it's certainly something that I don't think we would, I think we could open it up larger than that.
So when I've done the courageous conversations in the past, it was open up to the community at large.
Yeah.
So elementary school parents, parents who don't have, I've had parents who don't have students
People
in
in
the
the district,
school
yeah.
who just want to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So what I've done, we've opened it up to everyone.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, I
fabulous.
do think,
Because what we're looking to do is we're looking to have kids feel supported, have the school feel supported, and create allies. And those allies don't just exist within
In
these
this
4
building,
walls.
I
They
agree.
exist within our community.
Yep, I agree.
And just a big thank you to Mr. Romano and Ms. Stoward. They took this situation that occurred back in September, and he spent a lot of time putting this professional development plan in place. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
These ideas just don't happen overnight, and everything that he's talked about, we've met a couple of times on, it's stuff that we can actually implement and do, and that's actionable. So Josh and Emily have done a great job putting it together, and
you really can find yourself going down the rabbit hole too. Like I found myself that I was looking up how do transgender people register for the draft? Like what are the rules for transgender people registering for the draft? Because like that can have an impact on your financial aid applications. So,
When I was looking for.
What do you mean by that?
so only males register for the draft. So I didn't know like if you were born female and now you're a male, do you have to register for the draft?
But how does that affect you financially?
Oh, you can, if a male isn't registered for the draft, they're not supposed to be able to get financial aid.
Oh.
Yeah. So like there is an impact, but it's like, we
That's a
just had a
whole other
20-year
can of
war.
worms.
Yes. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, folks. I think I have one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing.
Yes.
Is that it, Dr. Vera, for the
That's it
superintendent's
for me
report?
for tonight.
All right, then we will move along to the school committee and subcommittee report, accounts payable report.
I guess that's me. There was a warrant, 20 SCHL 22 dated 11/12/2021. That was for $2,099.65 for food services. Another one was signed for 20, warrant is 20 SCH 22 dated 11/10/21, and that was for, wow, $584,000 and $584,291.84 included a bunch of things. School choice, general funds, Norfolk Aggie, general fund, school choice, teacher quality grant, general funds, Dulles High School student activity funds, the fiscal year 21 Title I grant. Yeah, so that was what was signed.
All right, thank you. And moving on to the consent agenda. First, we have the November 3rd, 2021 meeting minutes. Anybody see anything there? Right, if not, I would be looking for a motion to approve the November 3rd, 2021 school committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Lisa. I'll need a second.
Oh, second.
Second by Monique. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Athletic positions for tournament games, MIAA.
So one of the unfortunate problems when you make the tournaments is that there are additional positions that the MIAA, which is the organization that regulates and governs interscholastic sports in Massachusetts, they require certain positions that we don't normally use. And we probably should have anticipated adding these positions. We hadn't. So what I am seeking here tonight is permission to add those positions. They're things like ticket takers, I'm watching up the list now, the athletic trainer that you have to have on site, site manager, pass gate, things like that, scorekeepers, positions that we normally staff with volunteers or students on internships, and they're required to be positions that the MIA governs. Now, the MIA also gives you they call it a stipend, or they actually call it a fee, but it's money they give you. I don't understand some of the terminology, but they do give you some money for these positions, but starting with the round of 16, you do have to have these positions in place at games if you are the host school. So those positions are listed on the
Second page.
attachment to the agenda item, and the fee that the MIA gives us is then intended to cover those positions. I think it's supposed to cover everything except your security detail and your custodian for the host school. So those are the positions that we're looking to create so that we can pay the people to do those positions.
Do they reimburse you up to that amount for those
So the
specified?
reimbursement that they give you, it's not so much like they directly reimburse it, what they give you is up to 600 tickets sold for soccer and volleyball, they give you $1,200. So you can use that money on whatever you want, but they also require you to have these
All of these
created.
positions.
So it's kind of like they're giving you the money, and they're saying you need these positions, whether you use that money for that purpose is
Right.
kind of up to you, but.
Okay, so I guess a question I have then is, I mean, just looking at this quickly, like, there's a thing for volleyball, so quick math to me. It doesn't seem like these positions would add up to $1,200.
It depends on how many, like, pass
Of
gate
each you
people
need.
you have. Like, you could have more than one person
Right.
doing security, which they say security, but what that
Right.
really means is like making sure kids aren't rowdy.
So then do you have to return any of the money? Like,
No.
let's say, okay.
No.
Okay,
The money is yours whether you
okay,
spend it all or not, so.
okay. All right, thank
And
you.
like, when I go to a game and I'm site manager, I'm not collecting $140 for it, you know?
Right.
So
All right,
you do end up with extra.
okay.
And the fee that we receive from Maya would go right in the Douglas High School Athletic Revolving Fund.
Okay, so if there is any excess, then it would go
It would
towards the
remain in the fund.
custodians for the event possibly, or any excess goes into the athletics fund.
Exactly,
Okay.
it would remain in the fund. Mhm.
Okay.
And the payments for these positions, as needed, would be paid from that fund as well.
Okay, thank you.
And it's a great problem to have. We were talking
Yes.
about having good problems.
Right.
You have to make the round of 16 for
Right.
this to kick in.
Yeah.
And you have to be high enough of a seed to host the game
Right.
at home. So and we did a couple of times have to use this. So if you do have to use it, it's a good problem to
Right.
have. It means that you're a high seed and you've gone deep into the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And I think with the positions that we use, the positions that we didn't use, the $1,200, I believe will also cover like what we had to pay Millbury to use their space. They didn't charge us very much.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be fine with the money that MIA gives us for it.
You don't want to forfeit so that we don't have to pay it? No, I'm joking.
No, we
That's a
didn't.
joke.
Now, the round that we're at now, including tonight, when you reach the 4 and the championship, it's a neutral host site. You would still get those fees, but we really can't, we wouldn't be a neutral site. So, like Leominster is going to get that check, but Leominster has to provide these positions, so.
Any other questions? All right, I'd be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the MIAA recommended tournament personnel fees in accordance with the attached MIAA recommended tournament personnel fees schedule dated 11/3/2021. These stipend amounts are retroactive to November 10th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Lisa, second by Monique. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes.
Right, hopefully we get to do this again for basketball.
Yes.
But I promised Mrs. Keegan that we will be way more ahead of the curve for any winter sports appearances that we may make, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the school business and operations manager's report.
I don't have any reclasses or transfers this evening, but I do want to let you know at the next meeting, I will have for you, as you know, we had 4 contracts that we were negotiating. The only 2 that we finalized as of yet only cover 20 of our employees, so most of them are still outstanding. But that being said, time just keeps marching by. We do hope to have the DESPA one, the Para and ABA one coming up soon. We're hoping for December 15th. But that being said, really can't wait any longer. So I will be providing a general fund report, the preschool trend analysis, the separate sheet for preschool that I give you with some projections, the school lunch trend analysis with projections, and circuit breaker and school choice at the December 15th meeting. We may not have all of the contracts done, so we won't be able to encumber the funds in each individual line. So what I will do is I'll print out the munis report, and I'll just do an accounting at the end of it to account for where we are right now. So at least I can give you a bottom line, estimate and projection going forward. And then when we do the encumbrances, when things are finalized, I'll do it again once those encumbrances are in as well.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Keegan? All right. Any topics not anticipated? Do we need an executive session?
Do not.
All right, then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting at 7:49.
Motion by Lisa,
Second.
second by Monique. All those